Welcome to Living Purpose Podcast, where stories matter. I'm your host, Christina Estrada, and I'm so excited to invite you into another season to learn, listen, and discover what it means to live on purpose. Join us each and every month as we discover ways to live on purpose together. Welcome to Living Purpose Podcast, where stories matter. I'm your host, Christina Estrada, and I'm so excited to invite you into our second season of our podcast. Last season, we spent a lot of time listening to inspiring stories and how people are pushing the boundaries of what it means to live on purpose. This year, we're going to do the same thing, but sprinkle a little new things in there. So I hope that you join us every month as we delve in to what it means to live on purpose in our community, our work, our schools, and in our homes. Let's do this. Let's live on purpose together. This month, I got to sit down with Keven and Alana Sturtevant, and it's a privilege for me to call them family. I got to sit down and recap so much about their relationship, and we just had such a great conversation. The thing that stood out most to me is that in spite of the empire that they have built, the wealth that they have built, relationship is top priority for this couple. Keven said something really interesting. He said, if I lost it all, I would be inspired. That hit me really hard because even in the midst of everything that they have built, the biggest thing to them is relationship. That's their foundation. And their foundation of relationship with God, their foundation of relationship with each other and their family is paramount to everything for them. And you'll hear that in these words. So I hope you enjoy this month and feel inspired as I was. Welcome to Living Purpose Podcast, and I'm here with an amazing couple that I'm so excited that we get to talk to today. But as usual, we're going to start with some grounding breaths just to get ourselves centered and ready to listen and preparing our minds and our spirits to be present here. So close your eyes down wherever you're at, unless you're driving. Don't do that, but just kind of give yourself some space to listen to the fluctuations of your mind, listen to all that's going on within your mind. And then our hope is that with some breaths that we can clear some space within our mind to really invite us to lean in, to hear, to listen, to be open to the words that will be spoken out today. So take a nice big breath in through the nose, then a full exhale out. And then just notice your body, where you're at in space, and maybe even just what's supporting you underneath you. And just let your regular rhythm of breath kind of guide you here. And notice the swirlings of your mind. Notice everything that's coming up for you. And focus in on your breath. Notice if there's any resistance that's coming up for you. Notice what thoughts are coming up. Stay focused on the breath. J.K. Rowling says, rock bottom became the solid foundation in which I rebuilt my life. And I love that saying because it gives us hope. It gives us this idea and this picture of what resilience looks like. That resilience invites hope. With those thoughts in our mind, let's take 2 breaths in through the nose. And then a grounding exhale out of the nose. And then 1 more breath in. A full exhale out. Return back here to this space. Maybe open the eyes, kind of shift your body a little bit. I love that. Always feels so good to get ourselves centered. And I am so excited to introduce Alana and Keven Sturtevant. Thank you so much for being here today. And I was thinking last night, I've been thinking for the last couple of weeks what to talk about. And so we're going to have a little fun and talk about some fun things. And then we're also going to talk about some real life things. And I thought about like all the different things I could talk to you about, right? Entrepreneurship, real estate, business ownership, mentorship, family, all of those things. And it was like, the thing that kept coming to my mind was hope and resilience. Those were the two words that just kept ringing. And I kept trying to think of like, oh no, but I want to talk about this. And I was like, no, it kind of like brought me still back to hope and resistance. And even this morning, as I was praying over this time, I really was thinking about the journey that you guys have been on. And I feel like so many people need to hear that in the face of resilience, when we choose resilience, when we choose that, then that gives hope the opportunity to come in. And so I think that's what I'm most excited about sharing. And thank you so much for taking the time. You guys are busy, so I'm just really grateful that you're here. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
We're happy to be here.
Yeah.
Well, we may not be here if it wasn't for y'all, so it's the least we could do. even though that was early on your therapy
we were just
journey.
talking about that. We didn't really give the best advice always, but hey, we all learn. So tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your family, business, anything you want to share. Just kind of give our listeners a little synopsis of the two of you, the Sturdivant clan.
I'm following your lead.
What?
Mm-hmm. I don't do this, so.
Well, as a couple, as a team,
so individually, whatever.
Let's see. We celebrated 20 years together as a team. We met in 8th grade, so the hashtag, some other people have started to use it, but I know I was the first, the hashtag 8th grade till infinity, because when we were living in a home in La Puente, I'm the oldest of 3, and my mom, mostly a single mom. My dad went to prison when I was pretty young, and we kind of went from having a pretty extravagant lifestyle, and then my dad got sent away, and my mom had to figure it out, and we were on welfare and living all over the place. And so I think one of the homes we had to move out of was in La Puente, and we moved into my aunt and uncle's home, and they have my 5 girl cousins. So we us 4 move into that home with their 7 and probably a couple
in
others.
Like a 3-bedroom house at that time.
Yeah,
I
there
think
was always friends there.
Yeah.
They always took their friends living there. Debbie lived there at the time. So
Yeah, it was probably 13 of us living in this 3-bedroom home.
a lot of people living there.
And so I remember just being like, another school. At this point, 8th grade, it was probably my 11th or 12th school. I mean, I'd switched schools so many times, and Marjo was the cousin that I was closest in age to. We're in the same grade. She's like, don't worry, I'll introduce you to everybody. She goes, but hey, me and my best friend, we have been telling everybody this lie. There's another Filipino girl at the school, so don't screw it up. So we've been telling everybody that we're cousins. And
so I think that you have to set like how Glendora was it was very
White.
rare to have 2 Filipinos in the
Yeah.
school. There were a few more than us, but so when we became close, we were like, what can we say that's like closer than best friends? Let's just start telling everybody that we're cousins. And so that's how the lie started. And at the time that he was already going to school with us, it was already, we were 3 years in on this.
Which is not out of the realm of possibility that you guys could be cousins. Because you
No,
guys, you
we're
and Marjo, not you guys, you and Marjo, because you guys look like,
So I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. I'll go along with whatever. And then I remember the day I met Alana, and she goes, this is my friend Alana. And I was like, I'm not going to say that girl is my cousin. I was like, this girl is beautiful. Like right away, I was like, oh my goodness. I just thought she was the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen. And I was like, I'm not going along with that. And I
Don't say names.
No, what are you talking about? So she didn't want anything to do with me. It was like
you
nothing.
weren't even there.
No amount of flirting did
He was my cousin.
anything.
I'm like, no.
Nothing.
No.
There was a wall. And I was like, I'm going to prove some kind of point. So I went around to everybody, and I was like the new kid. And, when they were doing the yearbooks and best dressed and most likely to succeed, I went around to everybody and told them to vote for Alana for best smile. And that was just my way of just
man.
like, yeah. And she won. She probably would have won anyways.
She would have.
Yeah.
But you could take credit for it.
Yeah.
And then my dad gets out of prison. And so I only went to that school for maybe 4 months or so. My dad gets out of prison. We have the same name. So for like safety reasons, I needed to move where he was, moved to this farm in Ohio. And I saw her one time from the span of 97 until 2000.
Well, our families were very connected because I grew up with Marjo. So I think at the time my sister was working for your mom.
Oh yeah,
and so
that's right.
And then Marissa, who is his cousin, was kind of living with my sister. So then you went to go visit Marissa, and I was there at my sister's house, and that was the only time that we saw each other in 10 years. And you had a girlfriend.
Wow.
So you just literally came, hi.
Yeah.
And that was it.
But you know, it's interesting. I've seen photos of my room through these different eras, and there's this photo of Marjo and Alana and like their little friend group. It was always
it was only me and Marjo.
Okay.
It was just like,
and it was just like in
remember
the
Star
background.
Shots? Remember
Yeah,
Star
like those
Shots?
Star
Really?
Shots.
Yes.
Yeah, it was mine and Marjo's Star Shots. And it was
my
like
gosh.
on his mirror.
Yeah.
That
And
was
so-
like white people's glamour shots. That's what we used to do.
It was the best.
Yeah, and then I remember in 2004, I was like had a pretty rocky relationship, and my mom. And at this point, 2004, it was like I was just getting really clear on I'm gonna do real estate. I'm gonna do real estate at a high level. I had just moved into like my dream penthouse in downtown LA. I was kind of getting things going, and my mom was like, "Man, you always get the cars you want. You always get everything that you want, but your relationships are always kind of." Like, yeah, well, exactly.
Shocking.
Set the best example. No, I didn't say that. But she goes, you know, why don't you set out what you want in your dream person? And I was like, that's different. I'm not going to do that. And of course, I think that's natural as a kid to like tell your parents you're not going to do it. But then behind the scenes, I did write out these 5 qualities that I would really want in like my dream person. And I wrote out strong family values. I wrote out trustworthy. I wrote out somebody that was passionate about something, like anything, just passionate about something. I wrote out 2 specific celebrity names. I won't mention either celebrity name, but one of them we have actually been places and they've asked if she was related. Somebody might have even asked if you were that person.
Yeah,
Crazy. So I write out this list. My birthday is April the 23rd. I write out this list around April the 28th because I remember I broke up with this person around
How old
my
were you?
birthday. 21.
Okay.
21?
20. You just turned
I just
22.
turned 22.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I was 21.
Yeah, and so I wrote out this list on the 28th, and then that's it. Just kind of forget about it. And then Cinco de Mayo. And then there's another piece to this story is I was in this skate shop in Laverne, and I was leaving the skate shop, and I saw Alana on the cover of this magazine in this skate shop. And I'm like, dang, that's crazy.
The fact that I even did this magazine cover is hilarious.
And I opened it up to her article, and it's on page 23, which is like my number. 23 is my number. And I'm like, dang, she totally looks like a morphed version of these 2 names that I wrote down. Bring that magazine home, and I just kind of put it by my list, whatever, forget about it. Cinco de Mayo, a buddy of mine calls me. I'm like home. I'm like kind of like bummed getting out of this relationship. And he's like, hey, dude, there's this party in San Dimas. You should come to it. And I'm like, I'm not going to. I'm chilling. 10 minutes later, I'm driving to this party.
It was midnight.
Yes.
Yeah.
I get there like I probably get there around midnight.
Yeah, because it closes at 1:45 too.
And I'm on another level. I almost get in a fight, and I'm like leaving this thing. And as I'm walking back to my car, I'm like, is that Alana? Yeah. It was like slow motion, she like
That's
turned.
good. It's
You
history.
should tell the rest of the story though.
Yeah.
So I
tell the
got
rest
her
of the
phone
story.
number.
No. So like I was like, oh my gosh, Keven. And then we're like walking to the street together. And then he asked for my phone number, or right?
Yeah.
We just exchanged phone numbers because I'm like, oh, this is Marjo's cousin,
Yeah.
right? So then, and he knew that he had a couple drinks. And so I texted him the next morning and I was like, hey, did you get home okay? Because that's who I've always been to all my friends. I've always been like the mom
Trustworthy.
checking in,
One
right?
of the qualities that he wrote down.
So then I said, hey, are you okay? Did you like make it home safe? And then he texts me back, who's this?
Yeah.
He knew who
Did
it
you
was.
know
probably
who it
came,
was?
Yes.
It probably came up Alana Dream
Probably.
Girl, you know what I mean?
So who's this? And I said, it's Alana. And then he was like, oh, so it wasn't a dream. I was like, wow.
Wow. Wow.
Come on, that's pretty good.
That's good.
That's pretty good.
Were you like,
I was like, okay.
And she still wanted nothing.
No, yeah.
to
And
really
then
do
like
with it.
Marja was like, hey, you should come over on Mother's Day. And then the second I saw him, I'm like, oh shoot, this is a setup. Like
No. So I went there. I went to Marjo's house.
Marjo did not want me and you
No,
to be
I went there
talking
like the
at
very
all.
next
I'm
week.
sure.
So you figure that's Cinco de Mayo. I went there like the probably that next day, if not 2 days later. And I was like, yo, Marjo. And Marge was like, no. So I went to Marissa. I went to Marielle. Marielle was like, she's like a total prude. Like, she's not like any other girl you've been with, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not going to happen.
Uncle Joe even pulled him aside.
Yeah, I went to all of them. I was like, you
Uncle
guys.
Joe's like, Kevin,
You guys
she's different.
No,
I
was
did
like,
not know
you
that.
guys got to help me out here. Like,
Uncle Joe was like, no,
Yeah.
she's different. She's
And I was
not
like,
like the other
just
girls.
invite
we're
her.
protecting
No, I was
her
like,
from you.
just invite her to the mother. It was Mother's Day.
Mother's Day.
I was like, invite her over here on Mother's Day. And so then she comes over on Mother's Day, and that was the second day. And I feel like she was a little flirty that day. I feel like she was like, kind of like, this dude's kind of cool.
He clearly was into himself. No, I'm just kidding.
I think she was like kind of feeling the vibe. And so,
Well, you're definitely different. Like, who you are is definitely different. Like, than.
what do you mean? Like I was super cool?
Yeah,
I was pretty
You're
cool.
just like, yeah, you're
I was
different.
on another level. Like I really was. Like to be that young
And then, like,
and
of
like
course,
chasing my dreams like that, and
his-
who my best
that
friend
is.
was.
That
Like, my
is.
best friend
His
was
best friend was
taking
like,
over the world.
right?
Yeah.
And so he would invite JoJo and I to like the craziest parties, and it was like, we're gonna get the front. There's like.
I'm 22
3-hour
years old.
line wait.
I have the craziest penthouse. My best friend is chilling with Kanye and all
Right,
these
right.
people. It's like, and she still had this guard up.
Yeah.
And then I talked her into a date, and so she tells Marjo, "Hey, I'm gonna go on a date with your cousin." And like I had planned the whole thing out. We're gonna go to sushi. We're gonna walk on this beach, and we're definitely gonna kiss when we walk on this beach. So we go get sushi. We walk across the street to the beach, and I just was not feeling any vibe whatsoever. Like I was like, nah,
Feeling
I'm gonna.
cousin vibes.
No, it wasn't like that. It just was like, this just is not, So whatever. We go back to my car, drive her back home, and she lived in Huntington, and so I'm driving down. Get on the 405, get on the 605 back to downtown LA. I'm probably like 50% of the way home. And I just call her and I'm like, I'm just doing my homework. Or she
I was
in
doing
college.
a research paper. I had something due the next day. I was still in college.
Thank you. That was really fun. And I was like, it's something's just like really bugging me. And she's like, what? And I was like, I just can't like help but wonder what would have happened if I would have tried to make a move on you. And she's like, well, I guess you'll never know.
I don't even think I said, I guess
That's
you'll never
exactly
know. I think
what
I just
you said.
No way.
That's
So
kind of
I
sounds
just
like
said-
something you would say.
She said, no, I guess you'll never know. And so I was like, so I turned around. I'm in like,
You're past the 605.
yes,
Oh
I'm
my
in
gosh.
probably, I don't know.
Long Beach?
Yeah, no, I'm further than Long Beach because you go down the 605, so I'm past Cerritos.
Oh.
Like I'm further down, and turn all the way back down and just keep talking to her the whole way. And then I finally get back to her house, and she's like, and then I tell her again. She's like, no, you're never gonna know. You should have, whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm outside. She's like, no, you're not. And so in my mind, this was it. Like this was oh my god.
She locks the doors.
She's gonna come outside. We're gonna have the best kiss ever, right? So she comes outside. She has this hoodie on, and I walk up to her, and we're talking, and I go in for a kiss, and I just get like totally denied. And it was the most awkward thing ever. And I was like, oh my God, this is so lame. I cannot believe
I should have kept
just did
driving.
this. Oh my God. This
Well,
is
because you're probably so used to getting whatever you
lame.
wanted. So
No, it's just, you should have just kissed me. Like, it was just like, you really should have.
That's
And then-
amazing.
And then the next date, I take her out on a date again. I think it was probably this. She probably did this like 5 times. And at the end of the day, I had this great date, going for a kiss, denied. I'm not kidding. Probably 5 well thought out dates.
Okay,
and
hold
not
on.
even a kiss.
What were you thinking?
honestly, I can't even remember that far back, but I don't know. I just never gave in that easily to anybody.
Yeah.
So, like I feel like there was obviously interest of why I was like, oh, let's hang out. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
But I also felt like it was a very awkward situation for me to be in because JoJo wants me to have nothing to do with him. And then
so you're kind of like,
I'm
choosing,
kind of just yeah, there's like this
Yeah.
gap. Like it's just a weird thing
that would be hard.
to be in,
Yeah.
And I remember telling
was
my
like, "I don't care."
friends, my friends,
Right.
I think after the 5th date, I remember telling my friend Chad and Jonas, I was like, yeah, I'm over it. And I was like, bro, we went on like 5 dates. Like, she's super hot and really cool, but like, nah. And they were like, no, bro, you got to keep trying. She's rad. Like, she's different. I'm like, I'm 22. Like, at that stage, it was just
she'll be rad in
she's
5
cool,
years.
yeah.
She's still available.
Yeah, but like, no, and they were, my friends were like, no, you guys don't give up. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it was like
23
May,
years.
June, July, August, September.
So when did you finally have your first kiss then?
23 days after. Yeah, it was May 28th.
May 28th?
Yeah. That's why we celebrate May 28th.
23 days.
Yeah. And it was so random too. It was so like it was like we had kissed like a million times. It wasn't that.
He was going downstairs to get a deposit check from one of our friends
my buddy
because he was buying a house.
was opening an escrow with my really good friend Nick. It was an exciting escrow, and he was downstairs, and I just remember him texting me, "Yo, I'm downstairs." Da, 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 da. And I was like, "Okay, cool. I'm gonna go get this check real quick." And I just leaned over, and we had a kiss. And then I remember going downstairs to my
By the way,
friend.
it should have been all along.
Right.
Yeah, and I remember going downstairs to my friend Nick. I'm like, "Yo, I finally got a kiss from Alana," and he's like, "Oh, that's cool. Congrats, man." Because it's like, bro, are you like a little
You're
kid?
supposed to say like happy birthday to me or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
That's what it
Yeah.
felt like.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
funny.
cool. And then tell me a little bit about your family.
And then it was like smooth sailing after
like
that.
3
you know?
months.
Yeah, for
It
3
was
months.
smooth sailing for
And
3
then-
months. Oh man.
We'll get into that a little bit. That's the good stuff. So what about your family? Like, tell us a little bit about your family, this crew that you've built.
Oh, you
Your
mean
children.
our family?
Yeah, your
I was
family.
like, my family upbringing?
Well, I had a
No.
3-year-old at the time.
Yeah, so again, because I've known Kevin, like I knew that he was, gonna have a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like this big deal, like, oh my gosh, Kevin got someone pregnant, right? Because we were like 17 at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
17. And so when we started dating, obviously I knew that he had Eli. And so Eli's 3 when we're dating. And then I think that we had Kaizen 8 years later,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
They're 8 years apart.
Yeah, and Alana, I wouldn't have been the dad that I was for Eli if it wasn't for Alana.
I definitely felt like I was like the stable one for sure in Eli's
Yeah.
life for the first.
Because
Yeah.
I
First
don't
few
know what
years.
year Virginia
Yeah.
got married.
She got married right when Kaizen was born. Remember her and I were pregnant together?
Oh, so 2008.
Or
yeah.
7.
So you figure there was 3 to 4 years of, I was partying a lot.
Yeah.
And she was partying with me, but also she, Virginia was doing her thing. And so Eli, it's incredible how amazing he has come out, considering like his first 8 years of life were.
Eli is such an amazing human being. Like, I love that we have him first as an example to our kids.
No,
you
he's
know?
it's
really is.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really cool to see him grow up, and like now he's creating a family. You know, he got married 2 years ago, and so to see who he has become, it's like so cool.
Yeah, as an agent, and I mean, his advice to me spiritually is on another level. Like the conversations that we'll have, you know, and he'll share with me, because his faith walk has been very, very raw and real, probably his whole life.
His whole life,
For real. His whole life.
Yeah, so it's pretty special.
Seeing the things that come out of his mouth, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, it's really
cool.
really cool.
But I know she's a big part of that.
Yeah.
Obviously,
You
her
all are. All
her
of you
stepdad,
guys,
his stepdad is an amazing human being, who Virginia is now, who my mom is, and who his grandma is. And so
yeah, he has so many great examples to look to.
Yeah.
Even just in the family collection. I mean, he's just around and he surrounds himself with like really amazing people
he
too.
does.
So, yeah. And then you have 3 girls.
Yep. So
Kaizen
Kaizen was born in
2008.
2008. Azella was born 2011. And
3 beautiful accidents.
we really-
3 totally unplanned. Are you freaking kidding me? Like when Kaizen came along, it was like, what?
Yeah.
And
Even
when
Azella
came along, it
when
was
I
even
found out,
more what?
When
It was
I
like,
found
how?
I was pregnant
When?
with Azella, I think I slept for 5 days straight because I was like, I can't do this again.
There's no way. Like,
I remember.
Because we had just moved back out to Orange County. We were living close to my mom. My mom helps so much, right?
We were getting
And so-
denied left and right just to rent a house for $2,500 a month. Like we were scraping by.
Yeah.
But when we had Kaizen, I remember he was about to be 3, and I'm like, we don't need that much help anymore. Like he's like good. He's not, he's not a baby anymore. Like at the time he would wake up and make himself cereal at
Yeah.
3 years old, right?
This is amazing.
Right. So then I'm like, he's old enough. We're good. And then I get pregnant 1 month later.
Yeah, and we were kind of in a weird space, I feel like. It was like, well, for me at least, I was in a weird space because my career was failing. And, as a man, when you're not able to provide and you're stressed out on how you're going to pay the bills every single month and you feel like you're not carrying your own weight, she was paying.
My career was like in the height of the career at that time. And so even getting pregnant, I did not tell anybody. I didn't post. I didn't tell my friends. My friends found out that we were having a baby because I invited them to the baby shower, and she was born 4 weeks later. That's when people found out. Because what I was afraid about is that, the real estate market was not great. Right. I'm making all the money. I'm working 15 days straight, and I would wear big clothes, so people had no clue that I was pregnant. And I knew that if I made the announcement, people would be like, she's too tired or we can't count on her or whatever. So I never told anyone that I was pregnant. I just took everything on because we needed the money.
You were in
time.
survival.
Yeah. Oh. So it's really interesting to look back at that. I have no baby, pregnant pictures with Azella. It's kind of sad, when you look back at that. But so those... None of them were planned.
The season of Azella being born was probably the roughest season ever in my whole life for sure, because we lost Jonas Memorial Day 2011, and that was like my that was best friend, like soul brother. That was my dude, and so that put me into this very, very. I mean, I went dark.
Yeah.
Super dark, darker than I'd ever gone. My drinking and drugs, it was out of control.
I don't feel, and in the moment, it's like right now, it's like, okay, it's hard to say this, but in the moment, I definitely don't think that Keven would have made it out of that if we were not pregnant with Azella. And to even know the fighting and everything that we were going through, that I had even gotten pregnant with Azella, was like, how?
Literally how?
How? Because we were like...
No, I thought she cheated on me. I'm dead serious.
He
I
actually
swear to God, I was like, when?
Yeah, he
we weren't
actually
tight.
did
We weren't cool. We weren't like... I was
You
like,
did.
when? We were like homies. We were like roommates.
Yeah.
I'm like, when did that
And
happen?
now she's like identical to Kevin, like looks identical.
I was like,
know.
when?
But he always
Are you still
you
questioning
know what's
this?
so no, you know what's so crazy? This is like, do I say this
No, there's
now?
it's
Okay,
too
hold
long
on.
of a
No,
story.
this
It's
is
too
kind of
long
funny.
of a
No,
story.
this is kind of funny. So like when she's like a few days old, right? Kevin's like staring at her, and I'm just like, what are you staring at? And he's just like, she looks Mexican, right? And then what? Like a year later, we find out that Kevin is actually half Mexican.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
So,
oh, so maybe that's not out of the realm of possibility.
but he was like, she looks
How
Mexican,
funny.
but it's just to
Oh
even
my
like
gosh.
think that because we didn't know
Yeah.
that there was
Yeah.
any type
Yeah.
of Hispanic in
Yeah.
his blood, right? But
That's
it's just
hilarious.
so
Yeah.
funny to like think back at that.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, cool. Now you're 50% Mexican.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that answers
There you go.
everything. All your questions are answered. There
Yes,
you
exactly.
go. Oh my gosh.
She's born in October,
Mm-hmm.
and then my dad passes away in January, and then that's the second. It was like when Azella came, it was like
I'm getting my life together. Yeah.
It's just his joy.
Yeah.
Right after Azella came, there were two important things that I felt I had to do. One, on the way home from Hoag Hospital, she's asleep in the back. We borrowed a baby seat for Azella, and she's in the back.
Well, we didn't borrow a baby seat. It used to be
was-
Kaizen's. We gave it to Nicole, and when we asked Nicole, can you give us back that car seat because we
do
can't
that?
buy one? So
Yeah.
she gave it back to us.
Yeah. And so, but I remember driving back home, and she was asleep, and I'm like, do you mind if I go in here real quick? And I signed up for these boxing classes. I was like, I need to learn how to box. I need to learn how to fight. Like, having a daughter is different. That, and then I immediately put my one asset that I owned. I had one asset that I owned. That was one thing that I owned that was worth more than like $500, and it was my motorcycle. And I sold it. And I sold it to buy her a ring. I sold it for like $5,000. That when that thing drove away, I like cried because that just represented. I wouldn't have started riding motorcycles if it wasn't for Jonas.
Yeah.
So seeing that drive away was like the end of that era. But I knew it was what I had to do. I knew I had to propose. I had to make an honest woman of this girl. And so I start ring shopping. And I don't think she has any idea. But I remember her asking me, like, so where's the money from the motorcycle? And I'm like,
We're supposed to pay rent. So I'm like, where
So
is this
we go
money?
up to San Francisco. I had the whole thing planned. And we get in a huge fight on the way up there about where the money was for the from the motorcycle. Then I propose.
And
then
then
we
I said-
split up 2 months later.
No, a year later.
No, what are you talking
Oh,
about?
no, April.
We proposed. Yeah.
Yeah. Like 5 months later.
Yeah, so proposed December 10th or 11th.
No, but after, like, literally, I was like, yes, but is this what you spent the money on? Was literally like my next question after.
Yeah.
I'm like, do we have any more money for rent?
So we're engaged December 10th, December 11th. My
December 10th,
dad passes away January 14th. I go pretty dark again, and then we officially split up April.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got my own
We were
place.
just talking about this to Uncle Joe and
Yeah.
Caroline last night.
Yeah.
What point was it that you guys came to us? Because I don't remember. Because we were talking
That
about
was
this before.
Kaizen
That was
era.
with Kaizen. Okay, so, like-
2009.
Yeah.
All that era where we thought it was impossible to get pregnant again was when
Was right around
it was
then.
right
Yeah.
around that
Yeah.
time. Okay.
So I think that to kind of like look back at like where we started, we probably shouldn't have started dating like at 21 for sure. I
Probably should've
mean,
started like 4 or 5 years later.
like maybe 7 years later. But
Yeah.
in that moment, right? Like all I ever knew, I mean, even like the boyfriend that I had in high school, we always broke up. It was
Yeah,
just a thing,
just a
right?
thing, yeah.
And so Kevin and I, our relationship was break up every weekend.
Yeah.
Like we would fight about the littlest thing. It's like, fine, I don't want to be with you. And then we would break
Yeah.
up. So that was our routine.
Yeah.
And even our friends, we would show up to the same clubs because we're
Still
in routine,
yeah,
right? We're friends with
right.
everybody. And we show up and they're like, where's Kevin? I'm like, we're not together. And they're just like, oh my God, like this is so, and then we would leave together. So it was like a thing.
Yeah.
And everyone was so over us.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, we did that for
Years.
4 years.
Years.
Like
Yeah.
maybe longer than 4
Mhm.
years. I think we broke up less when we started having kids, but we still broke up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think I kind of want to go back to like what you were talking about, those dark times, because I had this question that came up. I don't even know why it did, but like in those times for you, because it sounds like there were moments of joy, but then there were also moments of heartache.
Yeah.
And so for you, what two feelings coexisted for you during your darkest days?
I mean, one feeling for sure is I mean, I just feel it was like in the darkest days it was just pain and loss. You know, it was just like, well, I mean, in the seasons before Jonas passed, it was dark, right? So if we talk about before Jonas passed, there wasn't a feeling of loss. It was more feeling of probably of just like a lack of worth. Yeah, I think it was just a feeling like a loser because I had been successful and then I lost everything.
Yeah.
So it was just like, you're an idiot. I felt dumb. I felt like I screwed up. You know, like how could I have, I fell on my face financially 3 times, rock bottom. And I didn't have the understanding, like I love that J.K. Rowling quote. I didn't have the understanding that like rock bottom, that sounds crazy. That's a blessing. Rock bottom's firm. Rock bottom's a new place to start.
Yeah.
I didn't have that education. Like if we lost it all right now, as crazy as this sounds, I'd be like kind of inspired. I'd be kind of inspired because I'm like, dang, ground zero. But we have the knowledge, we have the skills, we have each other, we have my sobriety, we have our faith. Like this is going to be exciting. Okay, we're going to move into a studio apartment in Minneapolis, but we're going to get it going. Give me 6 months, and this is going to be an adventure.
Yeah.
So
I think that's that piece. That's why those 2 words of resilience and hope kept ringing for me, because there has to be resilience in order to get to the hope piece.
Yeah.
There is no hope. You can't just, because then hope doesn't really have anything to grab hold of, right?
Yeah.
It's just kind of this like flailing like word out there, thought or feeling that we may think, but resilience causes you to see that there is hope on the other side of that rock bottom.
Regret. Like I should have done this. I should have done that. Just shooting all over myself. And doesn't do anything for you. You know, I've learned now. It's like I got right now. I have right now. I had the best day ever yesterday. It doesn't matter. I have right now. Yeah. So, but that was the dark days prior to losing Jonas and my dad. When we went through these moments, we had a lot of very, very difficult moments. Getting our electricity shut off, getting cars repossessed, having investors leave us, businesses fail.
I remember Jonas even having, because we had to borrow money from Jonas, and he straight up asked Keven, like, how much longer do you want to do this to yourself?
Yeah, like when are you going to
when are you
commit?
gonna-
Like, and my best friend is the most successful dude ever.
Right.
And he'll give me these handouts, but like at one point him and I were like matching each other's success. At least it felt like that. He was thousands of levels before me, but we were able to like feed off of each other's energy of chasing success. And then I just bombed and he's still super successful. And I was just like, God, dude, I'm such a loser. Yeah, and feeling lost for sure. When I lost Jonas and my dad, this pain was like a pain that I'd never felt before. It was just like, and I just tried to numb it with drinking and partying and whatever. Yeah.
When do you think like that you had like a breaking point? Like in those 2 moments of those dark spaces, when was that breaking point where you were like, oh my gosh, like I got to get it together? Like there has to be something that like reboots me, gets me back on track.
Yeah. My two were in 2012 when we split up, and then in 2016 when we had achieved some crazy success the year before. We changed everything. In 4 years, we changed everything. Mm-hmm. We went from absolutely nothing to dream home, number one in the company, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And then I relapsed 4 months later. So those were my two moments of, one, when we split up, April 2012, was like, all right, game on. It's me and me. I can't blame her anymore for anything. I'm in this crappy little apartment with my brother. I got to figure this out. And I did. I got on. I figured it out. I came up with the vision for this company. I worked my face off. I got sober, got it all together. In 4 years. And then I relapsed. And that relapse was a huge, you're nothing, bro. All this doesn't mean anything. You better get connected spiritually. You better really, really take the sobriety thing serious. And then that was the next chapter in 2016.
Yeah.
Was that when you guys broke up? Because I'd love you to tell that story.
2012 was when we broke up.
Okay.
When we we were engaged, but we separated
Zella
for
was
like
6
5
months,
months, I think.
Yeah. I love that story that you told. Like, I think you bought like this, like something in like LA, and you're sitting there, you're like bawling, and then like you're like, I'm alone. Like, I'm by myself. Like, what was going through your head? Like, what were you wrestling with? Because I feel like you were kind of like in the lion's den a little bit, like maybe like wrestling with like so many things, obviously, like of your worth, but also like there's success on one side, then there's loneliness. So there was like so many things that were kind of coexisting together. Yeah,
it was a weird feeling for sure, because I felt like she hated my guts, right? Like 30th birthday.
Like the mother of your children hates your guts. Not a good place to be in.
No, and then there's when you're in a battle and you're fighting things out, there's so much word exchange of, you're this, you're that. And to me, I was like, I'll show you that I'm not. I'll show you that I could be better. So it's like, but I'm going to show her.
Oh my gosh! If only we had that letter.
Oh, the letter. Yeah, in one of the battles.
When we didn't even have kids, we were just dating, but we had broken up, and I was like, I am so done. And then he had written me this craziest letter. Wish that we had it, but he was like, no boyfriend.
It said, you will see when I shift, I will be able to do more, give you more, and be more than all your girlfriends' husbands put together. And it was just like, just watch.
We were like 22 or 23.
Yeah, we were like 22 years old.
That's so awesome. You should
but
try to
have
recreate that.
It's so funny.
That's
I'm like,
amazing.
oh my gosh.
But this time was different because...
And would you say that he...
100%.
Yeah.
I think that what he has not talked about here is his upbringing with his dad and some of the things that he carries on from that. So that was definitely a battle for him, and he has broken away from that. And it's like, I always knew that Keven wanted to be and could be like this amazing person, because he has amazing qualities, right?
Yeah. I see this therapist by myself, because I've realized that so many of the things that I'll like dump on her, she's doing her own thing.
So I just want to really quick, harken back to a conversation that we had with you like 20 or 10 years ago, when we told you guys to get counseling by yourself. That was the only good thing that came out of that counseling session.
Yeah, because I think...
So I just want to pat myself on the back, because I remember like, these two are a hot mess. They're not going to make it.
We had the same counselor for, I think, 10 or 11 years.
So we did one thing.
Some of the things that I'm dealing with, like I'm going to dump it on her because she's the closest person, when really it's just something I'm dealing with self-worth. I'm dealing with not feeling appreciated from behind, and then I'm bringing that. Yeah. So in the movie Talladega Nights, it's funny. There's this scene where like Will Ferrell's dad, they're at a Applebee's, and everything's perfect. He's with his mom and is with his dad, and his parents are split up, and Will Ferrell's with his two kids, and the dad's there, and the dad's just like raging alcoholic, and the dad, they're having this perfect moment at Applebee's, and Will Ferrell's mom is like, we should do this every Sunday. And the kids are like, yeah, this is great. And there's this moment of like peace and love. And the dad has to screw it all up. And he creates this issue. And the waitress comes, she's like, what's going on with them? Then I didn't order this. And he creates this issue. And he storms out of the Applebee's. And it's this whole thing. And Will Ferrell is chasing him. And his dad's just like, I don't know what it is. And I have felt like that. I have felt like when everything is going right and there's this beautiful family dynamic, if it feels like this isn't what it's supposed to be. Screw this up, bro. You got to screw this up. It's this battle that till this day, it's just like, this was actually the first Christmas season I've ever had since, how long? This last Christmas was the first Christmas season that I have had where I did not have a totally random breakdown.
Of course. It's your trauma-versary.
It's so crazy.
Every year, December is probably
so crazy.
Because it's right in between where Jonas, and it's probably December was probably like the most difficult time for you growing up.
Well, also he said the holidays were very hard.
Yes.
There's not a single, and this isn't like this like emotional thing as a kid where like, oh, I never had that. No, we never had a Christmas. There was never a Christmas with my parents. And I would be going to my cousins' homes, and their parents are there. And I'm watching everybody around me have this love of family. And I didn't have that. Some Christmases, I wasn't even with my brother and sister. They were with my dad.
In Ohio,
And it was this, and then my mom would always be really, really torn at Christmas. And she would put her game face on. She would do whatever she could, but I knew my mom was heartbroken. And so the holidays amplify all that. And last Christmas, I remember I was like probably around the 20th or something. I'm on a jog and just I'm like, oh my God, when is this gonna stop? Give me a break. Get over it. Freaking, your life's good, dude.
Him,
Get
Quinn,
over
and
it.
Marina have this group text, and it's all about crying.
Oh, it's all crying. Me and my brother and sister, all we do is we make jokes
like, did
about.
you cry today about Dad?
Yeah, it's hilarious. All we do is talk about our dad and send. We did this podcast together, which probably will never see the light of day. It's called Daddy Issues, and it was me, my brother, and my sister, and we just recorded this podcast about my dad. It was hilarious.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe
I think that a lot of people, when they hear stories of Kevin's past with his dad, it's like unbelievable. They're like,
I think so, but there's another part that I see just being an outsider kind of looking in sometimes is that I think what you've created is a vulnerability. And it allows people to want to be around you, want to know you, want to glean from you and learn from you. And I think that's probably why your mentorship has become so inspiring for others, because there is a vulnerability that, I know that it's hard. I know there's times where you're like, I don't really want to talk about this stuff, or I don't want to like deal with people, but I think it's just, you wear it. It's not something that you even have to try. You just wear it. It's something that you have. And people see it.
Yeah.
I mean,
and what I would say
But
too,
it was both of us. I mean, what she had to deal with
but
and
what
go
I'm
but both of
through.
you are like that together, and it
Yeah.
just really creates like a safety, I think, for other people to be able to be like, all right, it's all right.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people are afraid to admit their past, and they have
Yes.
to just pretend to be this
100%.
successful person. And so
Yes.
when they see Kevin, his story, and our story together, and we're just like, yeah, we've broken up a million times, they're not afraid to like share their life and like, or be embarrassed by it.
Well, and we have this like idea in our minds of how it's supposed to be, and breakdown and a frustration and a feeling of like a lack of love or appreciation or whatever is now in your household and in your marriage. You're like, that's not how it's supposed to be.
Right.
That's not the picture. Maybe we should just split up. Maybe we should just get a divorce. And it's like, what, 55%? And I think
I think that's the saddest part, is like, we've seen some friends where they're just like, well, it's time to get divorced, and it's like, you've had one hardship, and like you can't work through that.
Right.
Like
You're like,
You're gonna do. It's
gotta work through it.
It's gonna happen
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Now,
It
yeah,
is.
I totally get it. If it takes two,
yeah,
but I've learned that I'm gonna say whatever I need to.
yeah,
I'm gonna say the gnarliest things. Like,
Yeah.
like I think we stopped going to therapy together probably because
COVID.
of the things.
No, it was COVID.
Yeah,
COVID
but
stopped
I
us
mean, the
and we
things
just
that I
weren't.
would say in there, sometimes I think I would say things
Okay,
in
what is
therapy
that? What's
just
that
for
movie?
shock treatment.
Yeah. So what is that movie? When,
Like
we're
I
in
would
the-
say the gnarliest things.
What was that? What's that movie with Will Ferrell? It's like we're in that.
Trust tree.
Oh,
in
no,
the
trust-
nest.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he
But-
would literally just talk about like the craziest
like-
things, and the counselor would
And
look
he's
at
like-
me like in my reaction.
you're like,
I'm like,
But I would now.
but almost
I
feel
would
like you
say
need a space for that.
exactly
Maybe. I don't know.
what is on my heart. This is what's on my heart. This is what I'm dealing with.
but it was both ends because he'd be like, yeah, I thought everything was great this week, and then you just dumped all these things. I had no idea I did
You're
that.
like, welcome
to
to
you.
the last 6 weeks of going to counseling with you.
I think that it's important for a husband to be able to say anything. No matter what it is, you got to be able to say it. You got to be willing to share it. You know, if you have the opportunity to talk to a therapist or a counselor first, because you know maybe that person can help you work through what these things are, then great. But if not, I think that like I want her to be able to tell me anything.
Yeah.
When we were in Hawaii this last November, I had some things that were on my heart that I had to share with her that I'm sure she probably felt like it was like I was speaking a different language. Because it's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, this is how I feel. This is how I feel.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the kids, your projects, the flips and everything you're doing, the chickens, and me.
Wow.
I'm way down here. And she's like, how could you say I do this? And she names all the things that she does. But I'm like, yeah, that's not how I feel love though.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like you like look at me and you're like, I know sometimes I look at what I'm wearing and I'm like, this is a good outfit. I want you to look at me and be like, wow,
Yeah.
I don't feel that.
Yeah.
And that takes vulnerability to be like, I want you to think I'm awesome.
Yeah.
I don't feel like you see that I'm killing it right now at work.
Yeah.
I want you to, you know, and I'm killing it for us.
Yeah.
And is that lame to say? Kinda. She's working her ass off. Look at everything she's doing. She's working harder than I am. So to
But tell her about the caution tape.
oh yeah. She. So then here's the challenges with fights. This is what happens in fights. I'm sharing my heart, and then so she shares. I just want her to listen and just like ideally she just listens. But okay, I'll work
Right.
on that. Instead, she gives me a whole laundry list of what I need to do to feel that. So she goes, well, you know what? Maybe if when you come home, instead of going on the couch after dinner, you come in and help with the dishes. I'm like, help with the dishes?
Oh my gosh, I feel
Why
like
am I
we're
gonna
like
help with the dishes?
we have the same exact.
And in my
I
mind-
feel like I'm listening to
like,
my
what?
like somebody talk about my life.
It's every
yeah,
husband and
it
wife though,
is.
because
It
it's like
is.
Help with the dishes.
I feel like to the
That's what all the
boys.
kids are there for.
That's
Why
on
have
us.
them do the dishes. She's like, you just go on the couch. I'm like, why would I not want to go on the couch after dinner? She's like, I'm in here and the kids are yelling and you're just on the couch. I'm like, you know what I'm gonna do then? I'm gonna put caution tape around the couch. Since the couch isn't allowed to be sitting on, I'll put caution tape around the couch. So, but it allowed us to have this discussion, and I'm like, okay, so what would happen then if after dinner, she goes, you don't even need to do the dishes.
Just hang out
Just
with me.
hang out with me. Just sit there with me.
Enjoy the pain with me of Eliana screaming. Don't just leave
like,
me
"No."
by myself.
So, but the point is, you gotta share it. You
Yeah.
got if that's what you're dealing with now. What percentage of the time do I feel like she hears it and like does? I'm not gonna even answer that question. Just share it. Just share it. You can and just look.
Yeah.
If
I
you-
learned an invaluable lesson a couple, I don't know, maybe like it was 2 years ago, where Roger had come to me and he said, like, I feel like I married up, but I feel like I can't really say anything because I don't feel like, feel like you got the short end of the stick. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And it hit me. I was like,
Wow.
no, like, I feel like I married up.
Mm.
Like, with what I grew up with and what I knew and the guys I dated, like, nobody even came like in comparison to you, but I wasn't speaking it out to him. I wasn't making him feel like you are like everything I ever wanted. And I feel like I like hit the jackpot in like men. And it was like, I never spoke that out to him though.
Yeah.
And I think men need to hear that they have such value that, marrying up is not like what I look like on the outside. Like marrying up is like what you are to me and the inside, outside, everything that we are for each other. And so that was like that hit me really hard when he said that. And I've tried, I don't know, maybe I'm doing an better job of it, of telling you that like, I am just so grateful for you. And I feel like that's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Like a lot of men, I think, feel like they go out, they work. They're like constantly like pounding the pavement to make a living, and they don't get valued as like their worth that they really are. And so I think that's really important to speak your mind. And I know that that's something I need to work on. And because I feel like I have like this laundry list, and then he comes to me and says, can we talk about money? And I'm like, no. What? No, we don't need to talk about money. And so there's that part where it's like there needs to be, like you're saying, that.
And it's
that
constant.
value. Yeah.
It's constant. It can be awesome one week and it's going to completely, and I think it's like our health. It's like any little area. It's like if we're not looking at it and being honest and upfront, I think it's really easy to, something occurs, you start to develop a story, you add to that story, and it stacks up and it stacks up and it stacks up, and that's just relationships. I snapped on somebody this last week. I had something stacking up for a year, and I'm like, I probably should have been a little bit more honest and upfront with what I was seeing, because it stacks up, and then all of a sudden something said, and words are exchanged that could be sometimes impossible
or ideas
fix.
in our mind that are so deeply rooted within us that that's so hard to change.
Yeah.
Like the ideas and the words. Yeah. So I have one more final question, and then I have this really cool quote to share with you that makes me think of you guys. What brought you to the point of knowing that you possessed everything that you needed to be successful? Can you pinpoint a time where you're like, I mean, I know even worth, all of those things are things that we all are still working through, but was there a moment where you're like, I have what I need. I have the support. I have what I need to be successful. That's a really loaded question.
For me, honestly, it's every single day that I have to find that. And I do my very best to find it before I talk to anybody. And I would say that 95% of every day, by about 5:15 a.m., I found it. And I found it in my practices. I do not wake up like this. I wake up between 4:30 and 4:47-ish. And I'm in the plunge. Usually I'm in my plunge by about 4:47 is usually the latest that I'm getting in that thing. And I like to sit in there and do something very difficult right away to just remind myself, dude, you can do this. You got this. And so I would encourage people to find these practices that are easy, that are free, and step into that, because I don't think it's a moment. I think it is a continuous practice to find that you have it, to find that God loves you, to find that you have faith and that you have strength. But you can have it on Monday. It's gone on Tuesday. You have to find it and choose it right away. So for me, it is a daily practice. It doesn't feel like that right when I wake up. But after planking, praying, plunging. That's a 15-minute thing. And I'm out of there and I'm like, I'm good. And then it's on to the workout. And her and I work out Wednesdays and Fridays together. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, I do my own thing. But by 6:30, 6:45, the kids aren't even up. You know, they're just kind of getting going. And we have taken this time to catch the rhythm, catch the vibration. And that's 99% of every day. Yeah. It's a
I will
it's a
say
practice.
that the days that we don't get a workout, the day is shot.
Yeah.
Like, it does not feel
Yeah.
like anything's accomplished. Your
Well, you
whole
probably
day
give
kinda just
yourself like a
follows.
threshold too. It's like that's
Probably
your threshold.
just used to it,
And used to
right?
it. Like it's a ritual. Yeah.
Well, and it's a
Yeah.
beautiful
Rhythm.
thing to not need success at work, not need anybody. Like, just what
It's
what
just
can you
what-
do
yeah.
by yourself in outside with God? What can you do to tap into, like, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And choose that, develop that, and don't veer off of that.
Also, having 5 kids has
Yeah.
like a lot to do with
Yeah.
not giving
When
up.
you have all
Yeah.
these kids, you're like, I don't care. I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. You have to.
Like, it doesn't. It's do or it
Who
doesn't
said that
matter.
to us
Yeah.
just recently? And we're like, oh, we've been saying that for a long time. I think I heard in a podcast recently, they're like, have a kid and see if you could, like,
Right.
you know, like, a lot of success comes with people having kids that are in their 20s. Did you hear that?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, in their early 20s, if you have kids at that age, they find that people are more successful because they're just like, what do I need to do
Yep.
to
Yep.
provide for this
Yeah,
child?
because you're in the very early stages
Yeah.
of your development as a human being,
Right.
as an adult, but also like your career.
Yeah.
It's not even established really
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, and I was like,
probably.
oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I think I got pregnant with Kaizen at 24.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
What do we got to
crazy.
do to...
So there's this Japanese proverb that I found, and it says, fall 7 times and stand up 8.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about you guys when I read that, because you stood up more than you've fallen. And so proud of you guys, and so grateful that you stepped into this space with me today.
Thank you.
And gave me time and energy. And so thank you, and inspiration. So thank you for
1 year. Great job.
1 year.
Woo.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Love you.
Yeah, love you too. We really hope that you enjoyed this month's episode and felt inspired and ready to live on purpose. Please feel free to follow us on Instagram at livingpurpose.podcast or Purpose Culture.